What's going on, everybody? It's Brandon, and welcome back to another episode of Murata Media. And today I will be reviewing probably one of the most anticipated animated films in quite some time, Toy Story 4. The fourth installment, obviously, in the long-running Toy Story saga. It's been 9 whole years since Toy Story 3 came out. And when I heard that Toy Story 4 was going to be released, I was a little bit confused and skeptical because Toy Story 3 had such a perfect ending to a perfect trilogy. I thought to myself, there's really no way that they could end this series more perfectly than they did. But then I remembered that this is a Pixar movie, and a majority of Pixar movies are pretty great, except with, a few exceptions. And luckily, my initial skepticism was incorrect because this movie is fantastic. Toy Story 4 picks up right at the end of Toy Story 3, and Bonnie is about to start kindergarten, and she's really anxious about it. So to help her cope, she makes a new toy at school, and that toy is the new character that we've seen in all the trailers, and his name is Forky. And Forky is this plastic spork who has these pipe cleaner arms and popsicle stick feet. And seeing how much Bonnie loves this little thing, Woody decides to help him learn the true meaning of what it's like to be a toy and help a child grow up. And when Forky decides to run away and Woody goes after him, that's where the adventure begins. And immediately we are reintroduced to an old character who has not appeared since Toy Story 2, and that was Bo Peep. Right at the beginning, you learn what happened to Bo and why she wasn't in Toy Story 3. It's revealed in between Toy Story 2 and Toy Story 3 that Bo was sold by Andy's little sister Molly, and Woody tries to save her and keep her at Andy's house, but she says that it's time to move on. And along the entire adventure, Bo starts to show Woody what it's like to be a lost toy. And right out of the gate, it's pretty clear that this is the most beautiful Pixar film, or probably most beautiful animated film I have ever seen. In the opening scene, it's pouring rain outside, and the rain effects are absolutely stunning. I just noticed the little things like the way the drops hit the character and the physics of the drop after they make contact, and the way the droplets kind of roll off of them. It's pretty remarkable how much detail was put just into the rain alone. But that's not the only part about the animation that's fantastic. I really can't say enough about the lighting in particular. Like, there are several scenes where the detail in the lighting is just spot on, whether it's coming from direct sunlight or the moonlight or artificial lighting inside of a building. It all looks so real, almost to the point that you forget that you're watching an animated film. But one detail about the lighting that I personally found very satisfying was the way the light glistens off of Bo Peep's face. I don't know exactly what Bo is made of. I think glass or some kind of porcelain. But the way the light just shines off of her, it looks unbelievable, and I don't know, I really just can't put into words how incredible it looks. The animators here really put a lot of effort and attention into every nook and cranny of this film, and you can really tell. And as I mentioned, we do meet up with some old characters from the past movies, but there's quite a few new characters who get their chance to shine as well. Like Forky, who I mentioned earlier, he's a great character. But there are 3 characters that really stick out in my mind the most. And those characters are Ducky and Bunny, who are voiced by the hilarious comedy duo Key and Peele, and Canada's greatest stuntman himself, Duke Kaboom, voiced by the great Keanu Reeves. But those 3 particular characters were easily the funniest characters in the entire movie. And that's something about Toy Story 4 that I really, really admired. This is easily the funniest Toy Story movie and probably the funniest Pixar movie to date. I cannot remember a time that I laughed this much and this hard in an animated movie. Key and Peele have such great chemistry with one another. I mean, that was made evident in their show, but here you could tell that they were really given a chance to show what they can do and given the chance to improvise with one another. And there were interviews I watched with Keegan-Michael Key where he mentioned that he and Jordan Peele actually got to record their lines in the same room, because typically in animated movies you record your lines by yourself and you don't really record in the same room with another voice actor. But those two and Duke Kaboom have so many one-liners that just had me belly laughing throughout the entire thing. And Duke Kaboom also gave my friends and I an inside joke that'll probably last us for the rest of our lives. Rajon! Why? But that being said, this is a Toy Story film, and it's not a Toy Story film without having some really emotional moments mixed in there. And I gotta say, this movie made me emotional from the first 5 minutes. And I actually didn't get emotional at the part you may think. You may find this absolutely pathetic, but there's a flashback sequence when we see the toys being played with by Andy again, while the famous song You've Got a Friend in Me by Randy Newman is playing in the background. And I actually got a little teary-eyed during that scene, and I think it's more because the nostalgia kind of hit me a little bit. Because I wasn't born when the first Toy Story movie came out, but I do faintly remember seeing Toy Story 2 in theaters. I was only 3 at the time, and I do remember seeing Toy Story 3 in theaters. And I guess it kind of just brought me back to a moment of nostalgia of watching these movies when I was a kid. And that's something that I have always admired about the Toy Story movies. They truly make you feel like a kid. Like, I don't think it really matters how old you are. This is definitely a franchise that was made for everybody and not specifically geared towards kids. I mean, obviously it's entertaining for the kids too, but I think it's just as, if not more, entertaining for adults who grew up with it. As I mentioned earlier, I was a little bit nervous going into this movie because Toy Story 3 had such a perfect ending and they could have stopped it right there. But this ending was just as, if not more, emotional than the third. And don't worry, I'm not going to spoil anything, but it did definitely hit me, and it hit everyone else, it seems, as well. But something else Toy Story 4 did that I absolutely love, that I really didn't appreciate in the moment until I thought about it afterwards, was its focus on Woody. Because all of the toys that we've seen in the past movies, you know, like Rex, Mr. Potato Head, rest in peace Don Rickles, Slinky, Ham, Jessie, Bullseye, all of them are here in Toy Story 4, but they don't really get a chance to do anything. They're kind of just there. But like I said, after I thought about this, I realized that this was actually a really smart move. Because if you think about it, none of the Toy Story movies up until this point have really been solely about Woody. Woody has always been the main character, of course, but it feels like his story was never told to its fullest extent. Like, Toy Story 1 was mostly about Buzz. Toy Story 2, I would argue, was a little bit more focused on Jessie. Toy Story 3 was a collective story about all of them and their relationship with one another. And Toy Story 4 is Woody's story, because his character development throughout these movies has been unbelievable. I mean, he went from trying to kill Buzz in the first one to risking his own life to save a plastic spork for the sake of his kids' happiness. Because the movie really delves deep into Woody's motivations, and we learn a lot more about him and why he is the way that he is. That's why I think that this ending for Woody was absolutely perfect. And that's why I really think that Pixar should stop right here. They should not make any more Toy Story movies. I mean, if they do, chances are I'm probably gonna shell out money and go see it, but that's a different story. If I had any complaints about Toy Story 4, I think my biggest one would be Gabby Gabby. And I didn't mention her before, but Gabby Gabby is this movie's main antagonist, and we learn what she wants along the way, but I feel we didn't know the full extent of her character. Like, we never find out where she came from or why she is the way that she is. But that's something that's so minuscule that I can forgive it, because other than that, Gabby Gabby was a pretty memorable new character. But other than that, guys, Toy Story 4 was a phenomenal film. Isn't it amazing that every Toy Story movie just got progressively better and better, that the original Toy Story might be the worst one? And that's not to say it was bad, it wasn't. It was fantastic, but that's really interesting to me that that might be the worst one because all the other ones topped it. And to sum it all up, this movie had beautiful animation, a very compelling story, great new characters, it was hilarious, it was emotional, and how could I forget the great voice actors that we've had in all 4 of these movies? Tom Hanks blows it out of the water, Tim Allen is great, everybody here is great, and I really cannot recommend Toy Story 4 enough. And overall, I would give Toy Story 4 a 9 out of 10. Guys, thank you so much for watching my review of Toy Story 4. Did you see it? Did you hate it? If you did, what's wrong with you? Did you love it just as much as I did? If you like my review, be sure to slap a like on it, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And other than that, I will see you guys next time.